Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Onalaska Common Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, February 11th, and the time is 7 p.m. We will begin by the clerk, Joanne Marcon, calling the roll.
Kim Smith,
Here.
Sean McAllister,
Here.
Dan Stevens,
As present.
Stephen Knott,
Present.
Mike Milky,
Here.
Diane Wolf. Here. Alder Jurassic is not with us at the moment. We'll make note during the meeting if he arrives during the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item 3 is the rules of the City of Onalaska Common Council and its subcommittees. This is a harassment-free forum. The City Council and its subcommittee meetings shall be conducted in a courteous manner. Citizens, council, and committee members shall be allowed to state their positions in an atmosphere free of slander, obscene remarks, or threats of violence. Sufficient warnings may be given by the Sergeant at Arms or the chair at any time during the remarks. And in the event that any individual shall violate the rules of decorum as set forth, such person may then be cut off from comment or debate. Item 4, public input. Now is the time where members of the public may address the Common Council. If you choose to do so, please begin by stating your name and your address and limit your comments to 3 minutes per individual. Anyone wishing to address the Common Council, please come forward. Come on up. Welcome.
David Salentic, 1720 Hickory Street. Last fall, I believe, my wife talked to our representative about getting signs put up along Highway 16, or not 16, Highway 53, regarding jake braking. And I have seen no progress of that, and I'm wondering if anything is being done about it. It came to light that there is a law on the books for it, but there needs to be signage and there needs to be enforcement of it because it's 11:30 at night, it's 5:30 in the morning, and we're laying in bed listening to jake brakes go down the highway. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the Common Council this evening? Second call. Oh, Alder Stevens.
I would like to give some public input, but I'm too lazy to walk all the way over here, so I'm going to do it from here if that's all right. My name is Dan Stevens. I live at 1708 Jennifer Court. As many people might know, I was the founding president of the Onalaska Art Keepers, and I presently serve as the communications director. And I have something exciting we'd like to talk about. The Onalaska Art Keepers is announcing a call to artists. Oak is accepting submissions for an Onalaska postcard design, which will celebrate the beauty of Onalaska. There will be 2 entries selected to be used as postcards, one from a student and one from an adult. The winning design will be available through Explore La Crosse Tourism at the Great River Landing. Accepted mediums are paintings, drawings, or collages, and this does not include photography or digital art. Winning artists will receive $50 and 50 postcards, and the pride of having your artwork be representing the city, our city, to tourists. The submission deadline is March 31st, and depending on feedback, this may become a regular reoccurring annual opportunity. For more information, please find the Onalaska Art Keepers on Facebook, and I believe this will soon be updated on our website.
Very good. Thank you. Any other public input this evening? Second call for public input. Third and final call for any public input this evening. Public input is now closed, and we will continue on with the report from the mayor. Item A, recognition of Equity Transit Day. This took place this past week on February 4th. Many of you may know that February 4th is Rosa Parks' birthday. We choose Equity Transit Day as this day because of her birthday. She was an activist in the civil rights movement. And although she was not the first person to resist bus segregation, she did help inspire others, and she really became a leader to end racial segregation throughout the South, but especially on the bus. And so we use her as a symbol of that and to help us recognize the importance of public transportation in our community these days. And there were a lot of really fun events that took place this past week to recognize our busing and public transportation here in the Cooley region. Some of those included story time on the bus, movie and story time in the La Crosse Library. And I've heard that many of the La Crosse mayoral candidates were riding the bus and making themselves available for the future. So I think they had a very successful Equity Transit Day and celebration of our public transit last week. I also want to mention that the Polar Plunge is fast approaching, and I have opened the Plunge Anna on Alaska team page. If anybody wants to plunge this year in the Polar Plunge, please join me. If you don't want to plunge, you can donate money instead. It's really a great cause for the Special Olympians in our area. And every year, Mayor Reynolds and I enjoy doing the Polar Plunge together and helping support our community. In the past, Dan Stevens has plunged with me. He hasn't made a commitment yet this year, but maybe some of you will join us as well. Everyone is welcome to do so. The plunge is on March 1st. I think Rick put the link out in his weekly update this week. So let me know if you have questions. Otherwise, I'll move on to the agenda. Recommendations for approval and/or possible action from the following committees, commissions, boards, and officials. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member requests removal, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in the order of business in the non-consent agenda. Are there any items the councilors would like removed from the consent agenda? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Your Honor, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor by Dan Stevens. It's been seconded by Mike Milkey to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The consent agenda has been approved. Moving on to the non-consent agenda, item number 7 is a recap of the items pulled from the consent agenda. There were none. Item 8 is the Finance Committee. Since Sean McAllister is online and it's hard to go back and forth that way, we'll defer to Alder Dan Stevens to handle the Finance Committee portion this evening. Dan Stevens?
Thank you, Your Honor. Under item 8A vouchers, the following is a list of monies extended since the last Common Council meeting dated January 14th, 2025, and the amount is $3,087,985.08. And I'll make a motion that we approve that.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Dan Stevens. It's been seconded by Stephen Knott to approve the vouchers. Is there any discussion? Not seeing or hearing any. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The vouchers are approved unanimously.
Under item 8B, Resolution 4-2025, authorizing the issuance and establishing parameters for the sale of not to exceed $8,100,000 in general obligation promissory notes. I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Dan Stevens. It's been seconded by Mike Milkey to approve Resolution 4-2025. Is there discussion? Sabrina Steger.
Thank you. So this was approved at Finance and Personnel. Since it involves money and it's a resolution, we decided to bring it forward to the full council as with the following resolutions. I do have Brad Ragout here from Bayard if you do have any further questions.
Would you like to have Brad? Um,
We made him sing for his supper at F&P last time, so I'm satisfied, but
All right, Joanne?
We would like to do these resolutions 8B through F by roll call.
Okay. All right, any further discussion on item B? Okay, resolution 4-2025, motion on the floor is to approve. Please answer when your name is called.
Stephen Knott,
Aye.
Dan Stevens,
aye.
Mike Milky,
Aye.
Sean McAllister,
Aye.
Diane Wolf. Aye.
Motion is approved unanimously. Alder Stevens?
Under item 8C, resolution 5-2025 to transfer from the 2024 general fund budget to the special revenue fund in the equipment replacement fund. And I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion on the floor by Dan Stevens. It's been seconded by Mike Milky to approve resolution 5-2025. Is there any discussion? Alder not?
Nope.
Oh, I thought that was,
No, I was taking my glass. I don't need
It's like
these to read.
bidding.
I don't need these to see you.
it's like bidding at the auction. Okay. Motion on the floor is to approve. Please answer when your name is called.
Sean McAllister,
Aye.
Dan Stevens,
Aye.
Stephen Knott,
Aye.
Mike Milky,
Aye.
Diane Wolf. Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Under item 8D, resolution 6-2025 to transfer to and from various departments in the 2024 general fund budget. I will make such motion.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Dan Stevens. It's been seconded by Stephen Knott to approve resolution 6-2025. Is there any discussion? Not seeing or hearing any. The motion on the floor is to approve. Please answer when your name is called.
Mike Milky,
Aye.
Diane Wolf. Aye. Dan Stevens,
Aye.
Sean McAllister,
Aye.
Stephen Knott.
Aye.
Motion passes. Voting was unanimous. Thank you.
Under item 8E, resolution 7-2025 to transfer from the 2024 general fund budget to the special revenue fund under special projects. I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion has been made by Dan Stevens. It's been seconded by Mike Milky to approve resolution 7-2025. Is there any discussion? Not seeing or hearing any. The motion on the floor is to approve. Please answer when your name is called.
Dan Stevens,
Aye.
Stephen Knott,
Aye.
Mike Milky,
Aye.
Sean McAllister,
Aye.
Diane Wolf. Aye.
Motion passes. The voting was unanimous. Thank you.
Under item 8F, resolution 8-2025 to transfer from the 2024 general fund budget to the debt service fund, and I will make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Dan Stevens. It's been seconded by Stephen Knott to approve resolution 8-2025. Is there any discussion? Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. I attended Finance and Personnel last week. There was a little bit of discussion about why we were doing this and the monies we were going to save. And for those who do read our minutes, typically they read council and not F&P or A&J. And if our Finance Director Sabrina Steger would be so kind to give us a quick minute overview, if you would, or take as much time as you would like. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. What we're looking to do here is transfer money from the general fund due to surplus revenues in 2024 to pay off our short-term debt. This would save us over $300,000 in interest. It would also make it so the city would have no short-term debt outstanding. Just a great thing.
And what amount did you say we were going to save in interest?
Sorry, what did you say?
What was the amount you
It's
just?
over 300,000. I had the exact number written down on my F&P packet, but I think it was 332,000.
Are we on 8F?
What'd you say?
Are we on item 8F right now?
8F.
Yep.
Now, I thought, what was the figure I heard at F&P last week was like 82,000?
Yes, you are right. It will save us 82,000. The 332,000 is going between a 15 and 18-year bonding. I apologize.
No,
My numbers are mixed up right now.
I just want to make
But
sure that I
yes, it
had,
is over 82,000 and it will take away all of our short-term borrowing.
perfect. Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for calling that out. And Stephen Knott was next, I believe.
I was going to do exactly what Diane did. I just wanted to get on the record why we were doing this and why it's good news for the city. That's all. So.
Thank you. Alder Stevens?
Since we're on the subject, there was some discussion at F&P on shifting the city's borrowing habits, and we opted for a shorter payback period. I assume that's the route we're going. And the idea is that there would be interest savings every year. The bond size, which includes the upgrade to the community center, this year is a little bit larger, so the interest savings on this bond was in the 300,000 range. But even if the bonds are roughly half the amount, going forward under the CIP, there should be substantial interest savings going forward with a shorter payback period. If we're able to maintain that methodology, that's money that we will not be spending on interest and can use towards other uses for the city. So hopefully that will continue.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, the motion on the floor is regarding, is item F, Resolution 8-2025, and the motion is to approve. Please answer when your name is called.
Diane Wolf,
Aye.
Stephen Knott,
Aye.
Mike Milky,
Aye.
Sean McAllister,
Aye.
Dan Stevens.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item G.
Under item 8G, the reserve funds for employee retention. This was presented to this year as a means to improve employee morale, to increase the city contribution. I think it was by 8% this year as a bonus from 80 to 88%. This is a one-time, it's not renewable. Well, next year's council, I suppose, could renew it, but it was a one-time shot. I asked to have this on the non-consent, although some of the explanation that the city administrator gave satisfied some of my needs. So I would support this. The hang up is that the staff knew that this was kind of a special and not a promise forever. So I'll make a motion to approve the reserve funds for the employee retention.
Second.
Okay, motion by Dan Stevens, second by Mike Milky to approve reserving these funds. Any further discussion? Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, can I assume that if this passes this evening, that staff will then go ahead and prepare a resolution between now and the next council meeting, and then for final approval will occur at the March meeting?
I believe that's what we did last year. Is that correct, Sabrina?
That is correct. And you can see in the packet, the memo that was brought forward to, we would do a resolution that would be attached to that memo as well.
And the $100,000 that we're setting aside would in fact cover everything?
Yeah.
Are we a little bit under, or we're just kind of rounding up to 100 just to?
It'd be a little under that. It'll be about preliminary numbers. It's hard to really know for sure because things change throughout the year, like qualifying events happen and so forth. And people come and go. But it was about 89,000 was the total cost for the general fund. And the other levy funds being joint municipal court and our refuse and recycling fund are both levy. So with those, it was about 89,000 for a total cost.
Okay, couple other questions I have. So we're looking at starting this in June, so we go through June through December of this year. Okay. And the handout that's in our packet, it's the packet number pages 33 and 34. I didn't have a chance to pull what we did last year. Are these comparable as far as what we're also looking at doing for regular time employees? So it's pretty much a carbon copy of what we did last year. Obviously, the amounts are a little bit different just because, you know what I mean? But
Correct.
Still looking at 88% and still giving approximately the same dollar amount to like regular part-time employees that we did last year.
Correct. It's essentially a carbon copy of last year. It's just adjusted slightly as insurance premiums were slightly higher this year. And so it reflects that.
All right, okay, thank you. Tonight I will be voting yes in support of sending this back to staff to go ahead and do and write up a resolution, but I will reserve my final comments for March council meeting. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Can I just for clarity say tonight, what we're doing is just reserving the money,
That is correct.
right? So this is just to reserve the money and
You
then,
restate the motion.
And then you will need to do a resolution, yeah, next month.
I don't think we need to restate the motion. I think that's what the motion was. To reserve the funds.
And we're just simply reserving the funds, so you're looking also for at least a direction type of thing, like an actual vote to ask staff to come back next month with a whole resolution like we've done in the past?
I think we're okay. I mean, I think if you reserve the funds, we know to write the resolution. So, and then it would be an independent vote if you want to expend the funds by way of the resolution next month.
So if it is supported this evening, it is going to come back to us for a final
Yes.
vote next month. That's all we
Yes,
care.
the-
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think there's a little confusion. So on the agenda, it says reserve funds with capital letters, which makes it look like a noun, but it's actually an action, a verb that we are reserving the funds, right?
Correct. So think of it as like step one. This is reserving the funds and then the resolution is expending the funds or authorizing the expending of the funds.
All right, then.
So the understanding is the money will not be able to be expended for anything until there is another further action by the council. I think that is a comfort level that everyone wants to have, right? Okay. Okay. Mike,
Thank you, Mayor. And just to, I guess, get it out there for the public, the money for this isn't just coming out of thin air. It's coming from our interest income from last year, correct?
Yep, that is correct. Excess interest income, as well as we had a really good year for building permits and things of that nature for our revenues.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
okay, so is everyone comfortable with the wording of the motion? So we can move ahead. Okay. All right, so the motion on the floor is to reserve $100,000. Reserve $100,000 with the intent that that is for employee retention purposes. Okay. All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, item 9, Judiciary Committee. Stephen?
Okay, this item is a discussion and possible action on suspending enforcement of alternate side parking. Based on the long-range weather forecast last week, this did pass unanimously out of the committee, and that was based on last week's long-range forecast. I just want to make sure everyone understands that. So I guess I'll go ahead and make a motion that we suspend just to get, I guess, discussion going.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Stephen Knott. It's been seconded by Diane Wolf to suspend enforcement of alternate side parking. Alder Knott.
So when I voted for this last week, I did have a caveat that this could, my vote could change based upon the 10-day forecast when we get to this meeting tonight. And I will have to vote against this tonight based upon the fact that we're looking at about 2 inches of snow tomorrow. And on Friday, I just looked at the forecast right before I came here, looking at another 3.5. So I would not be open to doing this until at the very earliest, February 15th, which is only 2 weeks prior to when it normally suspends anyway. So, yeah, I personally am opposed on this because we're going to have more snow. And my view back last week, well, I can't imagine is going to change, to be honest. This has been an ongoing discussion every year. The alternate side parking, yes, it creates complaints that come in on occasion from folks who get ticketed. But the nice thing about the alternate side parking, which a lot of communities do, is it creates predictability from the dates that we do it. Was it 1 December to through the end of March, I believe it is, or through the end of February. So by doing that predictability, it also allows us to plow our streets very, very efficiently, which is good for our first responders as well. If we get away from that to where we do just snow emergency announcements, I see how this happens already with some of the surrounding communities, that the word doesn't get out to everybody. The plows don't get the entire street plowed. And it creates issues to where days later, we're still having to have staff go out then and plow streets that should have been done in the first 24 hours. It creates safety issues for emergency vehicles trying to get by if it's a larger snowfall. So again, personally, I can't support it now that the weather has changed.
Thank you for that, Stephen. Any other comments or questions? Alder Stevens.
I'm inclined to not support this, but the reason is I think that we should be consistent in our approach. If we had a stretch of time where there was just no snow on the ground, I think a smarter policy would just be to direct the police department to tell the police to not issue citations. But to have the official city policy change, how does the average citizen keep up with that? And like whether we want to enforce it or not, I really think that the city can take a judicious approach and be like, if it's not snowing, you don't have to send our guys out to ticket. But I think every year when we kind of jack this around, it just makes it very inconsistent for the public, and we should stick with the plan. We shortened the time frame, so I think we end on February 15th. I think it's very reasonable, and as Aldernott pointed out, I mean, our street crews are able to keep our streets much more clear, and some of our neighbors, they have issues that we don't, and I'd like to keep our city in better condition that way. So I'm in favor of not supporting this.
Okay, let's go to Amanda Jackson. She has her hand up.
I mean, I actually think that our preference would be exactly what you said, which would be that the police department and perhaps in conjunction with Jared has the ability to choose not to enforce this. We just don't feel at this point that we have that option available to us. We are nothing if not rule followers of our own ordinances. And so we feel like as long as this is on the books, we have to enforce it. But if that were an option where that discretion could be given, to either the chief of police or the administrator, I think that would be a happy medium, because I do think, we do get a lot of complaints, and sometimes we do have very long stretches where there is no prediction of snow. And so if we could simply stop enforcing for a little bit, I think that would go a long way. I mean, I don't know that it would have a negative impact, and we are not ticketing the entire city on any given night anyway. I mean, we ticket as we're able between calls and other things. And so I think that would be a good medium ground.
Okay, so for clarity, you're asking to suspend enforcement, and then that wouldn't come with a public announcement of that.
Why?
I am asking if I'm saying a good compromise, perhaps short of an official declaration that we're ending, it would be to simply leave it in place, but allow the chief of police the discretion to suspend enforcement.
Okay. All right, Aldernott?
Well, two things. One was a comment I also wanted to have on my first comments, and I overlooked it, is that boy, I guess well, first off, I guess I'll go with that. I'm just confused. I guess I thought that the law enforcement always had a certain amount of discretion on whether or not they were going to, whether it be speeding tickets, what have you, get issue warnings, you name it already. I don't know that we have to have a vote on that. The police already have a certain amount of discretion. But at the same time, there's danger to this, folks. It's not a standard if it's not enforced. Now, I understand that, there can be some leeway, but we're going to create the conditions again. If we just don't enforce it to where when we do end up having real snow, the citizenry will not be parked alternate side parking because it's not being enforced anyway. I don't have to. So the whole idea is to get the city to where we accept alternate side parking so that when it does snow, within 24 hours, the streets are clear. And it's a safety issue. That's why the municipalities that have alternate side parking have it, is to create the conditions for rapid clearing of snowfall. And the other piece that I wanted to say before is, yes, we do get complaints when it's enforced and it's not snowing, but again, it's preemptive. It's creating the conditions so we can quickly clear the snow. And if we create the conditions to where we can't quickly clear the snow because we go off just snow emergencies or we don't enforce it, all we're doing is we're changing one set of complaints for another. And the other set is, why isn't the snow cleared? Well, it's because the cars are parked on both sides of the street and we can't get by and it stays later. So we're going to get complaints during snow no matter what. Are we going to get it because we're ticketing for alternate side parking, or we're going to get complaints because we're creating unsafe standards because now we can't clear the streets as fast? That's just me, so.
Okay, Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. So do we have a police representation either, are they on, and is anyone online from?
It was online, I thought I saw. I don't know if he still is, but
Yes, I am here.
So I guess if I would like to hear from our police chief and also Jared, our Director of Public Works, as far as their opinion and on the topic. So
Sure.
maybe Chief can go.
Mine's
first.
easy. Let's leave it on.
Pardon?
Mine's easy. If it snows, we need the alternate side parking.
Right. And Chief?
I would agree. I'm a little bit hesitant about this on and off again thing. I mean, I think it will be a little bit more challenging than managing my staff. When is it on? When's it off? Yes, if there's no snow for long periods, certainly that would be easy to manage, but this back and forth, I think will create some additional issues for us.
Thank you both. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, Alder Milky.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess before this meeting, I was just doing a little digging on our website, and I went to the FAQ page for snow removal, and I think it does a great job of outlining everything really that's in there. There's frequently asked questions about why we enforce it. I don't know who wrote it. Maybe it was Amanda, probably. But anyways, it was done very well, and it really lays out hey, this is what it is. This is how it goes. Now, totally understand that when we haven't had snow for 2 months, how that could be frustrating. If we were to not have this in place, I guess I'm asking you, Amanda, for how we alert people. I know that we have the way we can sign up for the alerts where people could put their email in, their phone number in. The other way we would alert would be like a banner across the webpage. Is there other options?
Yep. So, I mean, if this were to go away and we were to have a snowstorm, we do have our winter emergency, which would reinstitute alternate side parking. And so the way we would communicate something like that would be, we do have the ability to put up a notification that pops up every time we go to the website. We would do social media. We would issue a press release. We would attempt to get it on all of the various news media. We would put it on social media. We would use the city's notification system. And we would probably, more importantly, use the Park and Rec contact list, as that's still our biggest email list. So, I mean, there would be a lot of ways we would communicate this out. We would probably use a rave alert system. But I mean, that's what we would do if we get a snowstorm post alternate side parking season as well, where we felt the need to plow.
Okay.
Okay, Alder Stevens.
so I think Amanda's compromise was close to what I was going for, but I'm not sure, I can't speak for Amanda, but the way I envision this is we should keep the alternate side parking on the books, and that is the official policy of the city. So as far as consumer or citizens are concerned, they should park on the alternate side parking. If in the event somebody does not and it doesn't snow, the police and the public works have the ability to, kind of make that call, but we don't have to announce that. If it doesn't snow, you're in the clear. But if you're caught on the wrong side of the street and our trucks are going by, you're going to get a ticket. I mean, do we want our police officers to spend time doing this if there's no snow? I look at this as a difference. I'd like to think that the average Alaskan citizen is smart enough to realize, this is the policy. And if it's going to snow, you better be on the right side of or the correct side of the street, or you may get a ticket. So it's just giving our people a little bit more ability, but the policy should stay in place. I don't think you have to make a special announcement like we're ticketing tonight or we're not ticketing tonight. The policy is just in place. And people should respect the alternate side parking. But if it hasn't snowed in 2 weeks and it doesn't look like it's going to snow for the next 2 weeks, do we want to spend time sending people around ticketing? I just don't think that's a good use of our resources. All it's doing is creating, like, it's not a public safety issue if it doesn't snow, right? All it does is create consternation with certain people that got ticketed, so.
Okay, let's do final comments then. Alder Knott?
Dan, I have to disagree. It is still an issue if it's not snowing because we're trying to create the conditions for rapid snow removal. If we do not enforce it ever, unless it's snowing, then we don't have alternate side parking. We have snow emergency. We can call it what we want, but that's what it is because that's how we would be implementing it is, well, we're only going to do it if it snows. Well, we're not going to be able to clear the snow. There's going to be a cost with that too, because if the trucks have to keep going out for the next 3 days to get that snow cleared because we didn't do alternate side parking, there's a cost with that as opposed to getting it done within 24 hours. Now, if we either are going to have alternate side parking or we're not, and of course, that's not what's on the agenda. This was just whether or not we're going to lift it early. But we can add that on and have these discussions again. We've done it year after year. So.
Amanda?
I think we're overthinking this. I also think that we're not enforcing this at the same level you maybe think we are. I mean, this is not, as I said earlier, not a situation where we can ticket everybody in the city every night. Also, if we have a lot of calls overnight, we may not be ticketing anybody already simply due to what is going on in the city. And so I don't think anyone's proposing that we go weeks without ticketing people. I think, we're just looking for a little extra leeway.
Okay, any final comments? Alder Milky?
When you say you need leeway, do you need something done differently, or do you just need just the conversation we're hearing this? I guess that's my question.
And point of order, this isn't the agenda item of whether or not we're going to have to give the police leeway. Again, police have a certain latitude already, but that's not what the agenda item is. What we have a motion on is whether or not we're going to suspend it. That's what it is.
So alternate side parking, correct me if I'm wrong, normally will end, right now, if we make no change, it will end on March 15th. The proposal was to have it end on February 15th.
March 1st.
March 1st, sorry, because we changed it already.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
We
The
changed, we
proposal
already
is to
changed.
simply end
It
it
used to be March.
tonight. I mean, I think we can just move on.
Yeah, we're only talking about 2 weeks here. So the motion on the floor, if the motion on the floor passes, it would end on February 15th,
12th, tomorrow.
February 12th, tomorrow. And if the motion on the floor, if you vote no, it will continue until March 1st,
Yes.
right?
Correct.
Okay, so with no further ado, let's do the voting by roll call so that I don't get confused about who voted which way, and we'll be done. So if you vote yes, it will end tomorrow. And if you vote no, it will continue until March 1st.
Mike Milky,
Yes.
Sean McAllister,
I'm gonna say no.
Diane Wolf,
Right.
Dan Stevens,
Monet,
Stephen Knott.
No.
Okay, so the vote is 4-1 with the noes winning, and the alternate side parking will continue as scheduled until March 1st. All right, item 10, Board of Public Works, Aldernaut.
Okay, this is approval of well number 8 clean and inspection of municipal well and pump. I'll turn this over to Jared.
Thank you. Since the Board of Public Works meeting, we did get an email from our supplier, the contractor that was working on that well. I'll read part of it as we discussed. Unfortunately, the motor is failing the winding test. The motor shop is saying it needs to be rewound. It is now passing the surge test by 1%, but currently failing due to resistance imbalance. So basically the motor we had in the budget, we had $6,000 for working of the motor, getting it back up to spec, but it was not able to get up to spec. So our options were to either rewind the motor for $20,480 or purchase a new one for $26,890. We have chosen to purchase a new motor. Just for reference, the existing motor was installed in that well in 2001. And that was the second motor since the well was put in 1978. So we're getting about 25 years out of these units. We only have 4 wells within the city, so we don't want it to go down during the summer when we're at peak demand. So I really feel this is what should be done and what we've moved forward with. With that, the total project cost for the well pulling and repairs, as explained to Board of Public Works, with the motor will be $80,100 total. I have discussed it with the finance director, and we do have funds in the water utility reserves to cover these costs.
Okay, so a motion is to approve for 80,100, not 26,000.
Yes, originally at Board of Public Works, we approved 59,240, would now be 80,100.
I move to approve $80,100 to purchase the new motor.
A motion on the floor by Stephen Knott. It's been seconded by Alder Diane Wolf to approve moving forward with this purchase at $80,100. Is there further discussion? Back to Jared.
Just as a clarification, that's for all of the work. That's the new well column piping, that's the motor, that's the new pump that goes in the well. So there's a variety of items that were within that.
Yeah, and if you're tracking, there was a different amount at Public Works, so they've uncovered further problems. Okay, any other discussion?
I was just going to ask why it was on, that we approved it, but that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, motion on the floor is to approve. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any say no? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 11 from Plan Commission, discussion and possible action on the amendment to the development agreement with the traditional trades. This comes forward with an approval. In summary, it was a minor change to that agreement, just changing the order of the buildings, basically. And the recommendation was to approve. Katie or Amanda, do you want to add anything to that?
I would just echo that this was unanimously approved at Plan Commission. The only reason it's on non-consent was because it was in closed session.
So we'll need a motion or,
I move to approve.
Second.
motion on the floor by Stephen Knott. It's been seconded by Mike Milky to approve the amendment to the development agreement with traditional trades. Any further discussion or questions? Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I attended Plan Commission via Zoom, and then I got dropped off when it went into closed session. So I'm not really familiar with what happened. So if we could, and I was assured that whatever was discussed would be discussed in open session tonight. So I guess I would like to have more information.
Basically, when the original development agreement with traditional trades was done for the Fields project out off of Sand Lake Road, it was written with a particular order of the buildings in mind. And since then, due to a variety of reasons, the preference is to build them in a different order, essentially to swap out, I think it's phase 3 and phase 4. And so because we have certain basically incentives and certain requirements tied to the phases, we did an amendment to basically realign those with the order of the building. And then when this was done, it was much more conceptual. And so now we have better occupancy information and things like that. And so we, I think, had originally tied some of the requirements to occupancy at 70%, but simply the way the buildings will be laid out and the size of them, that would be a very like weird number. And so I think it's now 81% has to be occupied for those to kick in based on more updated architectural drawings. And so we didn't feel like any of these were major asks by traditional trades. And so we did an amendment, a very straightforward amendment to the development agreement to outline those. And then I think the last provision is simply, there is some requirement that the city pay back for some of the infrastructure, and we did allow ourselves to basically pay that off sooner if we should want to.
And thank you. So two quick questions. I know we, per our, how we do business, we talk about minor or major amendments. So this must have been a minor one?
We would consider this a minor amendment to the agreement, yes.
Okay. And lastly, is there a reason why it was in closed session? If we can talk about it now in open, I'm really confused.
It probably didn't need to be, but historically, development agreements have been in closed session, and so Katie put it in closed session.
Okay.
And we just felt like it wasn't significant enough that it needed to stay there, nor did Plan Commission have any concerns with it.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Any other questions on this? Okay, the motion on the floor is to approve the amendment to the development agreement. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 12 is closed session. To consider a motion to convene in closed session under section 1985(1)(e) of the Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically potential purchase of a storage condominium for police evidence storage and general storage. To consider a motion to convene in closed session under section 1985(1)(g) of the Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. Darlene Hanson claim.
Your Honor, I'll move that we go to closed session.
If any action is required in open session as the result of the closed session, the council will reconvene in open session to take the necessary action and or continue on with the printed agenda. Go ahead.
Oh.
Mayor, I'll make a motion, we go to closed session. I apologize.
Second. Adjourn,
Motion
second.
on the floor by Mike Milky. I know I was slow turning it. Seconded by Alder Diane Wolf to go in the closed session. Voting is by roll call.
Sean McAllister,
Yes.
Dan Stevens,
Aye.
Stephen Knott,
Aye.
Mike Milky,
Aye.
Diane Wolf.
Aye.
We are in closed session. The time is 7:48. Thank you.
Okay, we do still have Sean McAllister as well as Chief Ashbeck.
I move to deny.
Can you clarify what you're denying, Stephen?
I move to deny the Darlene Hanson claim.
Okay, motion on the floor to deny the Darling Hanson claim. Motion was made by Alder Knott, seconded by Alder Stevens. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. 8:50.